Hey, Steve here. Just came in from firing up my new pellet stove, which I absolutely love. I can control it from the phone here. I'm recording with my phone, but um, I can control the smoke level and the temperature of the meat. And I can test my meat probes. It's probably nothing new to you guys, but I think it's just pretty unbelievable. I'm never going back to propane again. Anyhow, I thought I'd make a video this week about ways that you can mess up your hunting property. And I wrote down 5 general notes here that I want to go over with you that you might find useful. If you've had a particularly bad season on your property, you didn't kill anything. I did have some people tell me that they didn't get any deer on their private property, which I find kind of hard to believe. They must be doing something wrong. So I put together a list. So 5 ways to mess up your hunting land. Number 1, invite too many non-serious hunters. If you're serious about hunting and you want to have good hunting on your land, invite people who are like-minded. If you bring all your childhood friends and your old buddies from before you had property and guys you used to hunt public land with, and they like to drink and smoke and ride four-wheelers and goof off, play cards all night. If you're into that and you're having fun, fantastic. But that's not for me. When I'm hunting, I'm hunting. I'm not drinking, and I'm not playing cards, and I'm not goofing around. So if you're a serious hunter, you might want to leave some of your old friends behind. I do have one client that does that. He likes to invite guys that he's been buddies with his whole life, and he's suffering for it because he should be shooting big bucks every year, and it's pretty rare to see a big buck on his property. No excuse, and just give that some thought. Riding ATVs and trucks through your good bedding cover and alerting all the deer on your property that you're in there. Anytime that you have big deer and older deer that are maybe 3 years old, they aren't going to stick around and put up with a lot of ATV riding, talking out loud, driving your trucks to your stand, things like that. I was in my stand that I put up in archery season, and I would see deer every night there. And then when the other guys came to camp and started running their trucks right by me and up to their stands, right through the thick bedding cover to get to their stand, I didn't see deer anymore. I could hear them walking after dark. But we can't hunt after dark, so if you want deer to move in the daylight, leave your ATV shut off. Leave your truck back at the camp and walk out there. I know Grant Woods is always telling you to drop people off with an ATV. And, that works on really huge pieces of ground. But if you have a small property, it's not going to work for you. So break the habit. Approach your stands without a machine. Approach quietly and use the wind to your advantage and make sure deer don't know you're there. Okay? Another one is to scout just before hunting season. This was something that I did my whole life, actually, on state land. It was a lot of fun to get together at the camp, and we'd all go up in the woods and kind of look over our area, look for sign, and build blinds out of dead sticks and what have you for opening day. So that's a real fun activity and everything. And when you're like me and you're from the city, that was great. I mean, that was more fun than the hunting sometimes, just getting ready for the hunt. But do your scouting now. I'm filming this at the end of Pennsylvania rifle season. Scout while you hunt, scout right after the season, because that's going to show you where the deer go during hunting season. And it doesn't matter how many deer you disturb now, but it does matter in the fall, okay? Okay, sit in the same stands every day. If you are married to a stand and you just cannot hunt anywhere else, you've got to go to that stand every time. You might want to think about moving your stands, putting multiple stands up. Make sure that you change it up a little bit so that the deer don't pattern you. If you start training the deer of where you are, I've had older deer, even though I don't hunt the same stand every day, they know that that's a stand and they look up there. Some of these older does, they'll come out into a food plot and they'll look right at my stand to see if I'm in there. So that's a screw up on my part. I wasn't sneaky enough, and I got busted there a couple times, and then I trained that deer to know where I'm hunting, and they always check to see if I'm there. And then conducting drives. Okay, so if you're really desperate to see a deer running around, put on some small drives, put on a push. I know my brother and I used to do 2-man drives where we would basically just still hunt towards each other and form little pincer movements around where we know that deer are probably bedding, and sometimes we boot one out to each other. Sometimes if you're hunting some real swampy country, you can find a high spot. If you know where those high spots are, you send one guy downwind and one guy can wind bump a buck into the other fella. So those kinds of drives I can really relate to. They're a lot of fun and very effective. Massive drives like they do here in Pennsylvania historically are not productive in terms of success rate. They are productive to kill some deer, and they have been used pretty effectively, especially on very large private clubs where you run the same drives all the time. You kind of know what the deer do when you push them, and you post guys appropriately. But I've never seen anybody kill an old buck that way. They're too smart. They're usually long gone by the time you set your drive up. Some of these drives are small military operations where guys are on the radio half the time. They don't know where each other are. It's a mess. It looks like the Iraqi army. And if you want to increase your odds of killing nice mature deer, then stand hunting, still hunting, and doing some of the techniques that I described before will increase your success rate on the older animals. Okay, so there's 5 tips that you could take into consideration and think about what kind of season you had and maybe some changes you want to make for the future. And if you want to do some habitat work or purchase land to hunt on, give me a call and we can discuss it. All right. Hope you had a great season, and it's time to start your habitat work and your scouting. So we'll talk about that in future episodes. All right. Don't forget to mash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.